morning and welcome to Rising. I'm Robby Soave and I'm joined by Briahna Joy Gray, and we have some really tragic news to get to this morning, so let's get right into it.
Yeah, as many of you might be aware, yesterday in Kansas City, one person was killed and 21 were injured when shots rang out at the Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. At least 11 of those injured by the gunshot wounds were between the ages of 6 and 15 years old. One suspect was reportedly detained by officers after being tackled by parade goers. Kansas City police say 3 people in total have been detained and firearms were recovered at the scene. However, no arrests have been made. Here's an interview with witnesses immediately following the shooting.
And then the police were screaming us, hit the ground, get down, and we're crawling on the ground and trying to get out of the way, and then they told us run.
Amid the chaos, Brian Azariah's 10-year-old son became separated from his mother and younger brother. Brian had dropped them off earlier so he could go to work, but around 2 o'clock, he got a frantic call from his son.
He was crying, "Daddy, I'm scared," and I said, "Be strong, just like I told you, be strong, and I'm coming."
Chief Safety Justin Reed wrote after the incident on X, quote, "This is sad, man. Kids are being shot and somebody didn't come home tonight. We cannot allow this to be normal. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb and chalk it up to just another shooting in America and reduce people into statistics and then move on tomorrow. This is a serious problem. I pray our leaders enact real solutions so our kids won't know this violence." President Biden also spoke out saying that the shooting, quote, "cuts deep in the American soul and that we know what we have to do. We just need the courage to do it." So a really awful situation. Frankly, I think we're grateful it is not worse. When just looking at the headline that 20 people have been shot, one person, of course, tragically killed. I'm reading that a number of children were shot. They are all expected to recover, which is very good news. Some heroic behavior from bystanders involved. People. We hear about that shooters need to be confronted and that is the duty of police when these kinds of things happen. But here some bystanders actually wrestled to the ground. One of the alleged perpetrators wrestled the gun, an assault-style weapon, out of his hands and I pinned him until the police were able to detain him. So some real bravery from people involved in what was going on.
Yeah, and the woman who tragically was killed, Lisa Lopez Galvin, was apparently a popular radio DJ, so the local community is really mourning her loss especially. I mean, it's such a horrible moment that should have been such a beautiful one, with about 1 million people gathered up downtown to celebrate this amazing Super Bowl victory that got even more disproportionate attention because of the nature of the celebrity involved and the Taylor Swift of it all and the Travis Kelce of it all. And to be at that sort of a high and to be so vulnerable and open and celebrating with your community and to have the moment turn like that so suddenly is really, really horrific. And again, many kudos to the civilians that stepped up in that moment. And we will, I'm sure, find out a lot more about what happened here as the hours and days go by.
Yeah.
So far, there's a lot of ambiguity here.
Yes, we don't know. They have not named a shooter or shooters. Actually, what we're learning right now is that they've detained multiple individuals. So again, you always have to be so careful about early reporting in situations like this, fog of war, et cetera. But it sounds like perhaps not a single mass shooter, but maybe a fight breaking out between multiple armed people, which is a very, very different situation. And I will get more information about that at some point, including whether any steps could have been taken to prevent this kind of thing. Are these people with criminal backgrounds? Are these people whose access to firearms ought to have been restricted under existing law already? That sort of thing. Yeah,
and of course, this has sparked some inquiry into what the gun laws in Missouri are like. They apparently have some of the most lax gun laws in the state, so that's going to, of course, generate another round of conversation about whether or not this shooting would have taken place or been able to take place if the people involved were able to get these guns in the first place. Again, we don't know yet if they were legally purchased or illegally obtained, and if there were any legal barriers to preventing them from actually getting those guns under any circumstances. It's one of the states with the highest rates of gun ownership. Apparently, about 48.8% of adults in Missouri own firearms, according to a 2020 study by the Rand Corporation. And Missouri has the 9th highest rate of gun deaths in the United States, according to 2021 data from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
Yeah, a lot of guns out there. Difficult problem to address, obviously, tailoring the laws to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people, particularly in a state which obviously has a lot of people legally and appropriately carrying guns to whom that is important, and don't want to see major changes to the law that deprive them of that right.
Travis Kelce, by the way, also did weigh in on the shooting, writing on Twitter, quote, "I am heartbroken over the tragedy that took place today. My heart is with all who came out to celebrate with us and have been affected. KC, you mean the world to me." I think that's sentiment all around. Just what a terrible blow on such an amazing day and an amazing accomplishment by a team in a city that's been supporting them really strongly.
Yeah, really, really awful. I mean, I'm again glad to read that the news is not worse than it is, but it is still obviously awful, and our heart goes out to that person who was killed, and obviously hoping for the speedy recovery of everyone else and the perpetrators to be brought to justice.
Yes, apparently, Lisa Lopez Galvin, she was a mother of 2 and someone who was actually personally familiar to members of the community, which is just, it's just such a shame. And I expect there to be a great deal of attention paid to whoever did this, and why. The why is such, in some ways when it's we've gotten weirdly kind of like familiar with the pattern of how these things are covered when it is a sort of a mass shooter who has
right. We start scrutinizing
an agenda
their mental health and looking for their manifesto.
All of those things. All of those things. And there's something that's so, I don't know, empty, especially senseless feeling about what might turn out to be an interpersonal dispute of some kind that does not need to happen in an environment where so many innocent people, so many kids could be implicated in it.
Which I always bring up when we talk about violence is actually the staggeringly more common kind of violence is domestic abuse, disputes between neighbors, disputes at the workplace, people, having rage for various reasons, having stress, having, exacerbating factors like that, and then snapping and committing violence. We scrutinize because, we watch too much true crime and too many serial killer shows. We become a little obsessed with, what was the motivation behind the Zodiac and Bundy and those kinds of people. And, we see these kind of soulless serial killer moments. Those are kind of going to, at the end of the day, be very hard and maybe impossible to ever understand, but bringing down the amount of violence in our society from people who just get mad at each other and then shoot each other instead of resorting to some other less lethal and less damaging to people, spectators, bystanders, that is a lot of our crime in this country, a lot of it, and we need to explore the causes of it. More Rising right after this. Please stay with us.